Uncollected sales taxes on internet purchases have long bothered brick and mortar shops. They complain since online retailers like Amazon and eBay don't have to charge Oklahoma shoppers a sales tax on purchases, it gives e-stores an unfair advantage. But that may be changing. This week, the U.S. Senate passed the Marketplace Fairness Act, which will require online merchants to pay sales taxes to 45 states, including Oklahoma. I spoke with Mickey Hepner, Dean of the College of Business at the University of Central Oklahoma, about the fiscal impact of the proposed federal law. Online merchants have not had to charge sales tax for items sold in Oklahoma. How much has this cost the state?
Well, there are some estimates that put the revenue costs to state and local governments in Oklahoma upwards to $200 million. I think that's probably a little high, considering that the state collects around $4 billion in sales taxes generally, and people spend about 5% of their purchases online. But most of the things that people buy online are things that they have to pay sales taxes on already, or things that in Oklahoma we don't collect taxes on. So I think the revenue loss is a little bit less than $100 million a year.
Supporters of the Marketplace Fairness Act say this will level the playing field. Do you agree?
Absolutely. One of the central tenets in economics for efficient taxation is that you tax similar products in a similar manner. And in this case, what we have are people buying certain products at the bricks and mortar store down the street and paying a sales tax, buying the same product online and not having to pay a sales tax. And that inequity creates an inefficiency in the market. The more we can make that equal, the better we are.
You have supported this idea for some time.
Absolutely. This, again, gets back to one of those central tenets of economic thought on efficient taxation.
So what's the argument against doing this if fairness and economics suggest that you should do this?
Well, there are a couple of arguments. One isn't particularly persuasive to me, and the other one is getting less and less persuasive over time. The one that's getting less and less persuasive over time is it's just burdensome for businesses to collect this tax from consumers. Back in the 1990s, when the Supreme Court made the initial ruling that the states cannot enforce this tax, it probably was quite burdensome for catalog sellers to collect the tax. But today with software, it's really easy to determine what the appropriate tax is. Companies like Apple, Barnes & Noble do it all the time. The other argument is that this is somehow a new tax, and that's actually not true at all. When people buy products from Amazon.com today, they're actually responsible for paying the sales tax for that here in Oklahoma, even though they often don't know that. It's not really a new tax, it's just enforcing the tax that we already have in place.
But that hasn't worked very well.
It has not worked very well, and in Oklahoma we've tried this, what many other states have, tried what we call a use tax, where the consumers are required to pay, and less than 3% of consumers will actually pay that tax.
Although this bill did pass the Senate, Oklahoma's 2 U.S. senators voted against it. Were they using essentially that argument that it's a new tax?
Yeah, I think so, and you'd have to certainly ask them more about what it is. The most common argument here out of Washington is somehow it's a new tax, but it's not really true.
Will this in any way hurt Oklahoma businesses?
Actually, no.
You talked about the collection that they might have to do, but does that really hurt them?
The Oklahoma businesses are already collecting sales taxes for the products they sell to Oklahoma residents. And so in this case, this is something that would actually benefit Oklahoma Main Street operators because they're now operating on a level playing field. Furthermore, this also provides a benefit to Oklahoma's municipalities who are heavily reliant upon sales tax collections. And for so long, they've not been able to collect the revenue that has been due to them.
Is this a reasonable thing to do in your mind at this time in Oklahoma when we are cutting other taxes, in particular the top income tax rate?
Well, this is another way to generate additional revenue. Again, revenue that is supposed to be coming into the state, taxes that are supposed to be collected that we just haven't been collecting efficiently. So this is a way to help offset some of that lost revenue, yes.
Do you think this will lead to different business models as states are collecting this money? Do you think that online merchants will operate differently in the future?
Well, I think it clearly, the current rules have clearly impacted how companies like Amazon work. Under the Supreme Court guidelines and rulings from the past, companies like Amazon can only be forced to collect sales taxes if they have a physical presence in the state. And so since they do not have a physical presence here in Oklahoma, like a store, then Oklahoma cannot enforce them to make to collect the sales taxes. That forces those kind of those kind of entities to locate their warehouses, to locate their distribution facilities in areas that minimize their tax burden. That efficiency or inefficiency and that distortion goes away as a result of this.
Mickey Hepner, Dean of the College of Business at UCO. Thank you.
Thank you very much.